right. Welcome to Af Responsible. My name is Robert. You receive a call, a frantic call, that tells you your brother has been involved in an accident and is in the hospital. You're told to make your way there very quickly because he's bleeding profusely and they need blood. So you basically make your way there as fast as you can and you get to the emergency room, the casualty. And yes, your brother is bleeding. And it looks like it's a lot. The injury was on the leg, and they say that he severed a major artery. And the blood, you can see it literally pulsating with the heartbeat. And they tell you the doctor is here to talk to you because it's an emergency. So doctor, the expert, sits you down in the consultation room where they talk to family members. And they tell you your brother needs blood stat, a lot of blood. So you sit there and you make frantic calls to your friends, family you got on your church group, your WhatsApp groups, including your high school groups, to get your brother to get some blood. So 10 people show up. And yes, they're donating blood. But you go back and you realize that no matter how much your brother is getting transfused, he's still bleeding. And you look at the wound, nobody has covered it, and he's still bleeding. So you tell the nurse, who calls the doctor, and the doctor says, no, we just need to transfuse. I know you're thinking. So you're standing there, and yes, you failed biology, but you know this is not medicine. There is something else that is going on. Because it is not possible that a wound that is actually bleeding, a gushing, profusely bleeding, hemorrhaging, that it does not need you to go to a medical school or to have passed biology for you to understand. It just needs to be sutured. It just needs to be sealed. And yet the doctors will not seal this wound. So you're confused. And you can tell that his life is slipping away and you're helpless. But are you helpless? That, my friend, is exactly what is happening to this country. It is profusely bleeding money, money through imports, money through SGR that brings goods from wherever and leaves with containers of money. Containers of money. If wire transfer was not a thing, those containers will go back with dollars, yuan, yen, because that's what they come to collect. The exchange that takes place is a good, the overwhelming imports of good, and the bleeding is money. And when our government look at the patient that is bleeding profusely, they call the experts. Yeah, the IMFs and the World Banks of this world. And they come and they say, these are experts, you need to listen. And central bank tell the executive, the president, you need to listen because these are experts. But the experts are blood merchants. They sell blood. So they tell you to continually transfuse a patient that is bleeding. A patient whose wound is continually bleeding, but they do not tell you how to seal that wound because they sell blood. That, my friend, is a scam. That, my friend, there is no expert there. So is it that we are so blind that we, even though we failed biology, that we do understand economics and finance, that we trust the advice of people whose goal is to sell us blood to our bleeding patient called Kenya? And if you study the people that recommend to the government in central bank, they all unfortunately have also worked with the blood merchants. So do they work for Kenya or do they work for the blood merchants? That's for you to judge. So they advise to continue borrowing money, borrowing blood. 4 trillion in the last few years. It is under the advice of people who sell blood, who make money in those transactions of transfusion from the blood Bank, the World Bank, the IMF, and the Development Partners. No, they are all blood merchants. Whether they're coming from the West or they're coming from the East, they're all blood merchants. And you do not need to be an expert to understand that what this economy needs, it is money circulation. Because what we have is basically, instead of fixing the pipe, the bleeding pipe, we basically are draining money away. And when we are running low, when the patient is almost getting supraventricular tachycardia, yes, that's in medicine, or is getting into ventricular tachycardia where the heart is beating so fast they are almost passing on. We call for more blood where we could have fixed is a wonder. The imports, that's our problem. Where things should be produced right here in this country. Soap, why are we importing soap from Egypt? Why are we importing shoes from China? Literally, why are we importing things that take so little to manufacture? Because we do not understand that yes, we may have failed biology, but that's continually having the patient profusely bleed because there is somebody who is making money on the transaction. And this is why, maybe on Dr. Kingori you heard me give this analogy, and I will keep giving it until it gets into the heads of the people that are decision makers in this country, the policy makers, the leaders, central bank, everybody. You need to understand that it's very simple. We have 5 liters of blood as an analogy. And every hour, our hearts are able to transform those 5 liters into 300 liters. And in a 24-hour period, 7,200 liters. Because the heart is bringing, as it's pumping the blood to push it out, with the same action, the blood is coming back. So the same amount that is pushed out is an exact amount that comes back in. And so the 5 liter is continually circulated. So if it was money, if a heart was basically pumping money in a system that is closed, that is not bleeding like our patient Kenya, what would happen? The heart would turn the 5, let's call it 5 billion shillings, would turn it into 300 billion shillings in a month. 300 billion shillings in an hour. And in 24 hours, it will basically turn that 5 billion into 7,200 7.2 trillion, basically. That, my friend, is a power. Let me put that again. If Kenya had only 5 billion and we were circulating that money instead of bleeding it out, what would happen? The 5 billion, in whichever period, it could be 1 hour, it could be 10 days, it could be a month, would turn, our heart would turn that into 300 billion. And in a year, 7.2 trillion, just by circulating the same 5 billion. But what do we do with the 5 billion? Or we buy things from China. So basically, not just China, everywhere, Turkey, Dubai, US, UK, wherever. And that 5 billion that we have, because it's bleeding out, so let's say half of that money is to pay for the cost of the things that we bought and shipping and everything else to get it to the port of Mombasa. And that 5 billion, because it's bleeding out and we sent it out, we are only left with 2.5 billion, and because we bleed out 2.5, half of it. So, but this system to work has to have 5 liters, 5 billion. So what happens? Oh, the blood merchants. Oh, let's call Dr. Expert to tell us what to do. Oh, Dr. Expert said we need to transfuse the patient. Another 2.5 liter or the patient is going to die. So we are continually getting transfused and bleeding out. And we see that, my friend, we have saved this economy. We have saved this country. and we have saved this continent. For my friends, we cannot continue to listen to people who are telling us that we need to continue transfusing a patient who is actively bleeding, and it does not matter what level of education that we have or what training that we have. We do not need to be doctors to see a hemorrhaging patient. A bleeding patient just need to be sutured, just need a bandage that is fixed on the wound so that they do not bleed. Pressure on that wound. So if we continue listening to people that make money by selling blood, we will continue doing what is obviously very unwise. And generations will continue being slaves, debt slaves. And we can fix that. I have written several books, money circles. And if you want to get more information, that information I'm getting is straight from the book I've written, Money Circles, 5 Fingers, Dollar Altar, and President Advisor. We have the capability to fix this economy, and it's not depending on people whose success and whose blood merchant business depends on our impotence. We have to cure that. We have to do something. And I will say here, and what we need to do, it is not going to Singapore. It is making the soap that we need on a daily basis. It is making the fast-moving consumer goods that we need on a daily basis. Not getting concrete structures that once you build, then what? What happens to the people that were in those sites who are basically 0.0% of the unemployment in this country? To fix that, it is to make things here. And so next, I'll be talking about pregnant assets, so we understand how we do that. I'm going to put my number here, just in case you would like to contact me on anything, including speaking engagements, or to have more discussions about this, or even wanting to send coffee. So we appreciate you. Spread like wildfire. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. My name is Robert. This is AF Responsible. Thank you for joining us.